opening the sutra.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let's see, before I get into the Teisho, a tiny bit of housekeeping. There's an air quality warning that has to do with the fire that's been happening north of us. And so if you've been wondering why and how and what's going on with the windows and the air conditioning and all that, beyond the normal confusion that we enjoy together around that subject. Now, today, this morning, we're trying to mitigate the air quality risk. So just that's something to be aware of. And the folks whose hands are allowed to touch the thermostat have been informed about these things. So we can all trust their judgment. And if we love it, it's because we're in tune. And if we don't love it, it's their fault. Okay, so we're looking at the chapter on Tathagatahood in the Lankavatara Sutra. The deep end doesn't get much deeper. But before I give these teachings, and we're, for those tracking such things, we're on page 111 of the epitomized version that I've been using here. I'd like to make some comment first about who gets to receive these teachings in a practicing kind of way? What are the ingredients necessary? And one of the things that I think is very important for us to name, okay? I think we, those so here gathered have a feel for it clearly, but just to name it. In the culture at large, okay, you know, perhaps you've been to a conference of one kind or the next, you know, and you buy your ticket, you've got your space to go to, and there's a meeting of peers or interested others around a certain topic, let's say, and there's a keynote speaker, right? And usually they rock pretty hard, at least they're supposed to, depending on the venue and what rock and roll means. If it's a scientific presentation, well, you know. But still, in their field, they'll be worthy of it. You know, and the audience members are audience members. Yes, there's an interest around which they're gathering, you know. You're unlikely to see streakers at a scientific conference, not usually on offer, you know. So people are there for a certain reason, let's say, and they have an interest in common. But let's be clear, we're talking about paid attendees who are an audience, who are listening to, hopefully, a worthy and a really good, inspiring keynote address, let's say, in various presentations. And what's required for admittance here is you buy your ticket, That's how you get to be there. You pay for it, right? And then what are the standards that are required? Well, basically, as long as you don't stand up naked and scream, fire, run for your life, you can be there, you know? Because really, there's a kind of a kinship, there's a kind of camaraderie. It's mostly water cooler, other, hydration options centered. And people gather, and then when the thing's done, everybody goes back from whence they came, right? So that's fine, right? I'm not knocking it for most things. It works great. But that is not what's happening when one encounters the Dharma. This mindset, this attitude, while completely appropriate in another setting, misses the mark entirely when it comes to spiritual practice and development. Rather than ticket holders and audience members with affinity, we have Sangha. Sangha is not an audience. We're not observers. Say your favorite sports ball activity. You pay your ticket, you go to the venue, there's spectacle, there's cheap food, there's festivities, right? There's some event everybody understands and ostensibly cares about enough to be there for. And when it's over, everybody goes home. So be careful, be very clear, and do not import that attitude when you come to spiritual practice. It will not help you. In fact, it's more likely than not to reinforce mistaken views. Because when you're simply an observer or a consumer, let's say, an even more pejorative word, you pick and choose. It's a salad bar of your own mind's will, and there's no one to say what you do and don't take. Because after all, after the game's over, everybody goes their way. When the conference ends, everyone goes back to their institutions or whatever it is, right? Rather in Sangha, these are all imperfect, but they're closer. It's family. It's a team. It's a tribe, okay? And all of these English words kind of fail, but they succeed much better than audience member or ticket holders with affinity, right? And what's the key thing that's the same between, let's say, a family, a team, and a tribe? There's an enduring relationship over time. It's not a one and done. It doesn't work that way. I have no interest in taking whatever it is that I have to offer and selling it to the highest bidder. No, it won't help me, it won't help them. My budget could use it, but I can't, let's say, right? Because I know for these seeds to land and actually land in fertile soil that has it's worth the dignity of the topic, frankly. There has got to be this bond of community. That's part of how this works. It always has been so from the very beginning, from the centuries of its unfolding, through to this moment and hopefully going forward. And rather than simply buy a ticket, let's get very clear. This Dharma is not for sale. You can't buy it. A donation's welcome to help the Sangha. But let's be very, very clear. You have not bought yourself a ticket to ride. And I know you all know this. I'm completely clear. I'm really not responding to anything that came up in a Doksan or anything like that. But this just needs to be said for whatever reason. The real thing is not for sale. Simply being an audience member who's observing and cherry-picking at a distance will not help you. Rather, there's a serious commitment. We are in this one boat together, and we're all in this boat, and the storm is not a joke. This is not I've said it over and over. We are all in this Dharma boat together. We are in this ship, the ship of compassion, of wisdom, of equanimity. You can't buy a ticket to it. And you can earn it. And the way we earn it is we show up in ways that foster our own practice, yes, and also the practice of those around us in the community. This is absolutely critical. So rather than a keynote speaker in an audience, let's say, which I've been, and I've been on many audiences and I've given keynotes a few times. It's a lovely thing at the right time and place. It works better, frankly, for a lot of things than this would, but not for this. For this, we're talking Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? And Sangha is not a right. You don't have the right to be in the Sangha. It's not like this. This is a very strange idea, actually, rights. What about your character? What about the way you treat yourself? What about the way you treat each other? What about the way you care for how you move through this space? So let's pay attention. Let's tune in to how exquisitely rare the opportunity is to have this much time to set aside to do the deep work. And don't allow yourself to collapse into a funnel of yourself. Sitting in the Zendo, you are in the high seat. Each of us. And so, approaching humbly, with head in hand, all of us, me for sure, having the correct character and virtue and depth of practice, we are welcomed into the space where the Dharma is proclaimed, and none of us, not me, the newest person in the room, should be taking any of that for granted. And again, I don't sense that you are, just to spell it out. But let's notice this again. Now, let's get to the teachings. The Buddha continued, when the twofold passions are destroyed and the twofold hindrances are cleared away, and the twofold egolessnesses is fully understood, and the irrevocable transformation death of the bodhisattva is attained, that which remains is the self-nature of the Tathagatas. When the teachings of the Dharma are fully understood and are perfectly realized by disciples, masters, that which is realized in their deepest consciousness is their own Buddha nature revealed as Tathagata. Here you have a handy, succinct field guide, actually, to practice. This sutra, I'm more and more clear about it, is not here to address speculative, idle questioning. Rather, it's for folks like us who are actually practicing on the life edge, on the cliff edge of life and death. Where's the freedom? Well, here, the Buddha whispers in your ear. Let me do what I can to help. Twofold passions, twofold hindrances, twofold egolessness. 3 sets of 2. Twofold passions. The twofold passions are destroyed. Now, passion here has to do really, there's a wholesome way of being very passionate about something. I have that, and I hope you do too. Passion is not inherently a horrible thing. There's a particular quality of mind that's being pointed to, which is always wrong, though. And this has to do with impulse and mood, based on nothing but conditioning. Okay? Impulse and mood with the basis of uncritically examined conditioning. This is something like what passion here is talking about. And there's two particular kinds of this disordered, let's say, or unwholesome is probably the best word. This unwholesome passion, this unwholesome set, a little basket, if you will, of impulses and moods that reinforce each other, right? And the first is passions that are connected with discriminations of an external world, okay? This shows up as attachment to perceived external objects. Okay. This is anything that comes in through the sense gates. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, bodily sensation. We'll cap it there for the moment. Okay. So this way of attachment to perceived, and I'm emphasizing this word perceived, external objects, based on impulse and mood. Oh, it's raining. Oh, I hate the rain. Oh, it's raining. Oh, I love the rain. Yeah, it's raining. I don't care about the rain. If the basis of that is impulse, mood of the day, mood of the moment, more like, uncritically examined, then we can be pretty sure we've got a disordered relationship to it, or an unwholesome one. At the very least, we can say it's suboptimal. Okay. This has the fact that what we tend to do is we objectify the world outside. We experience it as an outside thing, and we objectify it. We make it an object. And here there's a grave mistake that's occurred without our even noticing it. We thing-ize the objects of our perception. And really, it doesn't matter if you see it or hear it or taste it or touch it or smell it. There's an it's an almost instantaneous objectification of that which is experienced. It tastes good to me. Faster than language, faster than thought. I don't like that smell. Lightning fast. Even without words, even without judgment, the way of perceiving it, if you're not careful about it, you'll perceive it and instantly make an object of it. And it's even wrong to say that you do this. The disordered mind stream itself will automatically do this as part of, I'm doing my job. After all, is this something that we hunt down and kill for lunch? Is this something that we run from that's going to kill us for lunch? Is this something we mate with or bond with in some way? Is this someone I can test with? So it has a practical utility, and I'm not dismissing that. But our job is to see under the hood of these things, because the Buddha says, and I offer to you for reflection, that this instant objectification of sense experience is deathly problematic. If you want to get to the root of where does this suffering come from, this is in the direction. But it's not just that, okay? Remember, there's two. The other is passions connected with discrimination of the internal. So this can be thoughts and feelings, and really it's talking about this sense of self. Not only do we objectify, the bird out there and the weather is raining, it is raining. We make an object of ourselves as perceiver. And these two mistakes reinforce each other and compound. And it seems obvious enough. But be careful. The stiller your mind gets, the less obvious this is. We objectify the world and we subjectify our own experience and appropriate these experiences to make a sense of self. And you're not sitting there thinking about it any more than you're thinking about your liver doing its job right now. Thankfully, we don't have to consciously move food through our digestive system, bit by bit. Thankfully. However, here, problematically, this automatic digestion process of the mind goes on, and it's not working in your favor if that's all you have. In and of itself, not problematic, actually, when it's contextualized correctly. But we have to, in the words of the sutra, destroy this unexamined, habituated way of being in the world. The twofold passions must be destroyed. In other words, the unwholesome way of relating to these things has got to be taken care of. Okay. You have to be very careful, because sometimes the way the translations and language read, you could, without guidance and community, you could take it to mean you're supposed to just feel nothing and be beyond all things, and this is a common mistake. Now, the twofold hindrances. Okay? This is a slightly different take. Honestly, there's only one teaching. There's only one realization. There's really only one koan, and you are all of those things. And yet, the Buddhas and the ancestors come up with different ways to help. Right? So here we have twofold hindrances. Okay. Now this is emotion hindrance, knowledge hindrance. Okay. Emotion hindrance. This is desire-driven attachment to sensory experience. And it's focusing here on the emotional qualities. Right? The emotional hindrance. And our emotions do they not present as the supreme truth of reality when we are swept away by them, There is nothing but this irritation or this attraction, whatever it is. This smoldering apathy, But again, the sutra is saying, watch out. Interrogate deeply these habits of experience. This emotion hindrance is attaching to sensory experience and the emotions that come from them. Now, it's kind of counterintuitive, but you can become very attached to your disgust, your disdain, your ire, your anger. I mean, how many examples can we see on social media of, people screaming their lungs out with a just cause or an unjust one, depending on your point of view at a given moment. But this anger that sort of self-perpetuates, and be very careful when groups get together, right? All of us is far stupider than any one of us. When we get together in a crew, boy, can we do dumb stuff if it's not really carefully wielded, right? Hitler famously, required huge groups. The last thing he wanted was a discussion group with a bunch of intellectuals. Oh, hell no. Not happening. Okay. So this emotion hindrance. And the part of the trick of this is that your emotion might actually be quite justified. That's not good enough. It's not. Yes, you have every right to have these feelings. Now, do you choose to attach to them or not? Now, what will you do with them? How do you work with them? Is it not the case that some particularly vexing event occurs And some component in the machine somewhere just loves to run it over and over. Let's run those numbers again, right? Over and over, ruminating and replaying and rejustifying. And we're not talking about processing or problem solving or working through options. Nothing as elevated as that. We're simply basking in it. God, I remember when the pugs were young and we were out on the horse farm and there's the horse manure. You see where this is going? Oh, one of those pugs loved to just roll around the manure. Seems like a good idea, Dad. It's not. Don't roll around in the manure, folks. Yes, it's there, and yes, the manure is perfect too. I know that, but you stink. And stop it. It's not acceptable. And you know it. Your deeper self knows it. Get your shallow self online with it. Get your shallow self to sync up here. Okay? Emotion hindrance, attachment to the emotional. Oh, you know, I feel alive. I'm full of hate, but I feel alive. Or the other way, you can have a really great event go on, and it can be perhaps more damaging, especially if everyone claps for you. Watch out. Really watch out there, because now you have all the social proof you could want. Everybody's telling you, oh, wonderful, wonderful, yes, yes, lovely, lovely, right? And so, yeah, oh, good, yeah, yeah. And then in the depths of the third watch, there you are playing it over and over again, savoring it, holding on to it, clinging to it, rerunning it. Not acceptable. Just because it's more pleasant doesn't mean it's right. It's reinforcing the exact same pattern of suffering. It's just now in a pleasant wrapper. Don't put up with it. You have to deeply interrogate the psyche. You have to watch very carefully. The contents of that mind is the contents of your life. What could be worth more interrogation than that? More care? The first hindrance of the two, emotion hindrance, passion hindrance. The second, knowledge hindrance, cognitive hindrance. This one is specifically pointing to attaching to these obstructions that come from intellectualization, attendant to conceptualized knowledge. Oh boy. Wait a minute now, this is cutting a little close to the bone. I like my ideas, and they're right. And you should like them too. And if you don't, I'll kill you. There are many who might suppose that they're past this. After all, I've had an initial opening, say, in some depth. And then all of a sudden, without your noticing at all, you're completely attached to an intellectual construct, and you don't even see it. Why? Because you spend your life there. That's just what life is. What do you mean? It's all about my ideas and my thoughts and my judgments and my opinions. Now again, there's nothing inherently unwholesome about emotions. There's nothing inherently unwholesome about having ideas about stuff. I have both. I hope you do too. What is wholesome? What is the correct relationship to these things? When you become attached to conceptualized knowledge, and again, it doesn't matter if it's correct. The game is not to sift and sort to find the correct things and then hold fast to the correct things. Many fields, this is completely appropriate, and this is what you need to do. I understand this. But in the realm of the Buddha Dharma, this will fail you. Why? Because the Dharma eye needs to realize it. It's not a matter of getting more data into the intellect until finally it can crack the code. It won't ever be able to crack the code. That's not how this works. So some people tend to be, if we were to make a type of a person, you could say roughly there's some person that's, let's say, more emotional than intellectual. And they'll tend to kind of really live in an emotional way of being in the world, and they'll really cling to their feelings about everything. And then you might have a contrasting friend that's more cognitive and intellectual. They can see clearly the folly of just attaching to emotions. Why? I'm very clear this is inappropriate and unacceptable, and I can see very clearly you shouldn't be. Well, I don't like that. That doesn't make me feel good. And you think too much, Live a little, would you, And so they can see each other's flaws, perhaps, but looking in the mirror, they see perfection, except they suffer. Oh, well, just close the door and put on a happy face when you're out in public. No. This is another reason why audience member and performer doesn't work here. You have to be in community enough, you have to come to session enough with the same people enough that your stuff is quite obvious. You don't have to do that at a conference or at a concert. You're not there long enough, doesn't matter. The facade will more or less do fine. Not here, not in training. Now, luckily, most people aren't extreme to one case or the other. You have both, emotional and intellectual. Good for you. A fair and balanced portfolio of suffering. Congratulations. But maybe you know, one of these is your go-to way of navigating the world. My feelings supplant all else, or my ideas cover the ground I walk on, Watch out. Watch out, be careful. This knowledge hindrance, this intellectualization hindrance. And let's be very clear, the ancestors, many of them had very, very sharp intellects. Many of them were quite simple, but many of them had very, very high-watt, sharp intellects. Having drunk deeply of the human experience with all of its joys and grief, they weren't afraid of their emotions. Oh no. It's just that they had cracked this code. They had seen through the twofold hindrances cleared away, and the twofold egolessness fully understood. The twofold egolessness is talking about the egolessness of self and the egolessness of things. And egolessness here is pointing directly to the wisdom, the non-selfness of self, the non-selfness of things. Or in other words, the impermanence of. Again, it's not like, this coffee cup isn't here. It's clearly here. It's how is it that it's here that needs to be seen clearly. At some point, this is going to break. It's already happened. It just hasn't occurred yet. Therefore, the miracle of this and being able to appreciate the beauty of it and to see the beauty of it, knowing full well it will break. Why? Because it's not permanent. Now, it's one thing if we're talking about a coffee cup over there. What about you? Because after all, this is all about you. Do you ever notice when you hear someone gets diagnosed with some disease, say, or we hear about someone that's on the receiving end of some tragic accident or something, there's this instinctive mechanism that wants to know how that happened, what they did, that it's their fault, and I didn't do that, so I'm safe. Real fast. Oh, so-and-so got cancer. They smoked, didn't they? Okay, I'm good. You don't say it, well, usually. But there's this little defense spring that gets trapped. What's going on there? Protecting the self. This selflessness of self, this egolessness of self, this impermanence of self. You know, we can keep putting in different words here, and frankly, they all kind of fail, but they can be helpful. They give us in the right direction. There's no permanent, unchanging self. There's these heaps, we've heard, these skandhas. Form, sensation, perception, conception, so on. The mind system, the eightfold mind system of the Lankavatara, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, self-sense, storehouse consciousness. If you interrogate any one of those, you don't find a permanent something at the center. Nothing is like that. The non-self of all phenomena, the non-self of self. This has to be deeply, deeply seen into. So if we have these twofold passions cleared away, the impulse and mood, conditioning, connected to the external world and to the internal, objectifying the world and appropriating that to subjectify the self. And then we have the emotion hindrance and the knowledge hindrance. We get that kind of squared away. We get the twofold egolistics together. And the reward, the inconceivable transformation, death. Congratulations, you win. You put in your nickel, ching, 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 I won, yay. Okay, what is this inconceivable transformation, death? And pretty heavy language, right? This is simply really talking about a very profound transformation that occurs in the way we perceive ourselves and the way we perceive the world. Okay, it is a cessation of the deluded mind in the arising of noble wisdom. It's quite pleasant, honestly. It's nothing to be scared of. Okay? It's perceiving the true nature of reality. And it's inconceivable because it transcends the intellect. This is very important to keep iterating, okay? You can't figure it out. Once you've experienced it, you can be cogent about it. It really is not just pure irrationality and chaos. It's not. But even the words that completely accurately describe it in whatever language is native to your mind still isn't it, although words are it too. But this inconceivable transformation, death, is beyond the intellect's ability to forge. It's a complete turning about in the deepest seat of inmost consciousness, far beyond the reach of your ability to deduce, surmise, speculate, make a theory and test against. And it's like the fly that keeps trying to get to the light and banging into the windshield. There's just no way that that's going to work. And your intellect only knows intellection, so it will keep on intellecting. So, sesshin, Okay? Settle down. Come to your senses. Your senses as they intimately and immediately are. Let go the self-explanation and rationalizing and celebrating or fretting, whatever the case may be. And yet, in the beginning, you've got to give the mind something to chew on. You can't just say, don't think anything. It's not going to work. What think non-thinking means do not cling to thoughts. That you can do. Don't cling to sounds. Don't cling to sights. Don't cling to smells. Don't cling to tastes, right down the line. Now, when we get still and the body settles in, and typically the intellect rises up, the activities of the mind become like a massive 3D screen that we're immersed in. You don't need a virtual reality headset. You have one. You hallucinate worlds and wars and love affairs and battles and betrayals and triumphs, the whole thing, in a flash of thought. So we give the mind the one point and the breath say, look, concentrate on this. And that's how we start. Put your body like this and put your concentration like that. And that gets us started. Eventually, by the way, that has to be let go of too. And this is again why you need guidance, why I needed guidance. This inconceivable transformation, death of the bodhisattva, is attained. That which remains is the self-nature of Tathagata. Tathagata is suchness, thusness, beingness. So it's like when you stop creating, when you take off the delusion glasses, you can see. And you could see the whole time, but you have these filters on with all this drama. And if you're out here trying to find the glasses, wherever you look, you won't be able to find them because it's more intimate. Stop going out there. Look here. Look here. The inconceivable transformation, death of the bodhisattva is thus attained, and that which remains is the self-nature of Tathagata. When the teachings of the Dharma are fully understood and are perfectly realized. Now here's kind of, if you like, a redeemed intellect, or probably a better word, the true wholesome use of intellect. You actually have to understand this stuff. At the other end of the dial, if you don't really understand it, you haven't got it yet. But that comes after it's realized, after it's experienced. All right? When the teachings of the Dharma are fully understood and perfectly realized, both, then that which is realized in the deepest consciousness is your own Buddha nature, expressed as thusness. And again, the irony here is it's always been that way. You just wake up to it. Now, what's interesting about this is, in practical fact, this is a process. This is not, you could get the idea from this paragraph that if I check these boxes, I'll get the prize at the bottom of the cereal box and all is good. You just got to eat all the cereal and then I can have the prize. You remember when there used to be prizes in cereal? Am I just identifying myself as really old here? Yeah, and really old with some sketchy nutritional practices in my youth. Captain Crunch fueled my grade school years, apparently. We didn't know. A Twinkie in every lunchbox. God help us all. No, but here now, there's this tumbling into these realizations, right? There is a fundamental truth that when you really have an insight, when you really have experience, rather, kensho, it is durable. But the intellect will come back and cover it over again without your even noticing it. Okay? That's not just you. That's what happens. That's why we have training over time, okay? I've seen people have really, really powerful opening experiences and have just as powerful intellects cover them up like faster than lightning, okay? So this is the process. If there's only one koan, why the hell are there 1,700 koans? There's one koan, 1,700 ways. 10,000 ways. Until again, there's really only one koan, which also does happen. So, centuries later, Master Hongji would point to it in this way, in his words from the acupuncture needle of Zazen, which we'll close with. The Dharma realm in the 10 directions arises from the single mind. When the single mind is still, all appearances are entirely exhausted. All I-thou separation is utterly done. Which one is over there? Which one is myself? Only when you do not differentiate forms, suddenly not a single atom of dust is established anywhere. Not a single recollection is produced. Discern that even before the pregnant womb and after your skin bag emerged, each moment is an astonishing radiance. Each moment is astonishing radiance. Full and round and beautiful, without direction, without corners. Beauty everywhere. Just this. Just this. Please, please realize it.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. the land.